You're listening to I Love It When, and I'm your host, Mo. I'm a speaker, coach, and connector. You're in the right place if you're looking for some inspiration and you're ready to truly embrace who you are. My intention with this podcast is to help you see that you are so much more powerful than you realize. Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of I Love It When. I'm your host, Margaret Smith. I go by Mo, and I'm really excited today to introduce you all to Toni Patillo. And before we even launch into the episode, Toni has offered to lead us through a short breathwork exercise. So I'm really excited to have you guys be introduced to Toni this way because it's a fabulous way to start off today. So thank you, Toni.
Yes. But let's start out with the breath work. It's
Okay.
a way of tuning in. It's a way of connecting. It's a way of like settling down. This particular technique is called the 3-point breath. 3-point breath. So we're going to be inhaling through the nose.
Okay.
We're going to be holding the breath. And then we're going to exhale through the nose. And it'll all be guided by me. Sometimes you'll hear me say, suspend the breath. Suspend the breath means hold the breath.
Okay.
And then there will be times where I say, inhale some more. After you're already inhaled and holding, I might say, inhale some more. And I want you to open it up. This is all part of really opening up the heart space.
Okay.
So it's the 3-point breath. I'm going to guide us into it, in and out of the nose, and suspend the breath or hold the breath. It means the same thing.
Okay.
You good?
Yeah, ready.
Here we go. I want to start off by just rubbing our palms together. And we're really just getting the prana worked up. And I'm going to rub our hands together for a count of 10. And then I'll show you what we'll do with both hands. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We're just going to pull the hands and just rotate them very slowly. Allow the prana in between our palms to just marinate with us. This is where a lot of energy is. This is healing energy. We're just going to. And then we'll stop the rotation of the hands, but we'll continue to hold them out like this. And then we're going to do the breath work. So we're going to inhale. Inhale deep. Hold the breath. And exhale. In through the nose, out through the nose. Inhale deep. Inhale some more. Suspend the breath. And exhale. You should feel the prana in between your palms. Inhale deep. Suspend the breath. And exhale. Inhale deep. Hold the breath. Inhale some more. Open the chest. And exhale. The last time. Inhale deep. Inhale a little more. Hold the breath. And exhale. Just take your intentions and put it in between the palms, whatever it is you'd like to put your energy on, put your intentions on, and be grateful for its completion. All right. Just slowly work ourselves back into the room.
That's a great way to start out the podcast. Oh my God.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, me too. Gosh, feels so good to get grounded before.
Mhm.
Yeah. Thank you so much. If you guys are driving as you're listening, I hope it didn't distract you too much. But take
Yeah,
a moment
right.
to follow along. It feels so good. We forget that we don't breathe deeply like that during the day.
Yeah. It makes all the difference in the world when you
Hmm.
breathe. You know, we take our breath for granted.
Hmm.
I remember the years where I didn't even know how to breathe.
Yes.
There's so many of us that don't know how to breathe. We
Yeah.
just, some people don't breathe. They're just like,
Yes. Yes. The only time I
but
really remember breathing deeply is athletics, like when I was doing volleyball.
exactly.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's very, very powerful and it really grounds you. It really,
Hmm.
really does ground you.
Hmm.
I almost feel like I'm getting high with my breath work, because
That's
it
exactly
kind
what
of
it feels like.
it gives you a little buzz, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm so glad that we started off this way because I was going to tell everybody that I found Toni through Instagram actually, and I'm just always keep myself open to finding people who I think might add value to BU, the Inner Circle, which is a membership group that I run with Kathleen Metcalf. But it was your first video that I came across was one about flow, where you were talking
Mm.
about what flow feels like, how to get there, how to maintain flow. And so I was immediately attracted to everything that Toni had on her Instagram. And I looked at her website and I was like, I want to know this woman. So thank you so much for joining
Uh,
me today and she's already spoken in the Inner Circle and we had just the best time with you. But if you wouldn't mind introducing people a little bit to who you are and what you do.
sure. So my name is Toni Patillo, and I'm based here in Southern California and the West Side over in Marina Del Rey, Santa Monica. I have been around for a little while now. I, I won't say how long, but 22 years in real estate now as a broker. And prior to that, I was in the entertainment business for 20 years. And prior to that, I was in corporate America and, kind of doing my thing. I was born here in Los Angeles and I grew up in Washington State, believe it or not. Yakima, Washington.
Yakima, Washington.
You know about Yakima.
I do. Yeah.
And then I moved from Yakima. I moved to Yakima when I was 5 years old with my parents and my sister as well. She is 11 years older than I am. So she was in her last year of high school when I was in kindergarten. so,
Okay.
so she and I moved to Washington State with our parents, and then she left immediately as soon as she got out of high school. And then it was just me. And then my parents were very, very involved in the civil rights movement. My mother actually had a career opportunity as a real estate broker in Yakima, Washington. And so we relocated from Los Angeles to go up to Washington so that she could, take on this new opportunity in real estate. Well, when we got there, they saw that she was an African American woman, and suddenly the position was no longer offered, was no longer available.
Wow.
So we had moved and relocated and
Changed your whole life. Yeah.
changed our whole life. And of course, I was too young to really kind of comprehend what all was going on. And we went over to Seattle to see if she could find other work there. My dad was with us. He was, in his career, but he, pretty much supported whatever it was my mom, wanted to do.
Hmm.
So make a long story short, we um, went to Seattle, didn't find anything over there. He came back to Yakima. And then my mom just got deep into civil rights. And
Okay.
that was her life purpose. It was her calling. And so I grew up in that environment. And my parents built a cultural center right on our property. We had 11 acres.
Wow.
And we were across the street we were out in a little town called Sela.
Oh,
Selah,
yeah.
Washington. And it's across the street from the Yakima Firing Center.
Okay.
So that's where I grew up. And I graduated. Well, my mom homeschooled me because in Selah, when she took me to school, elementary, and actually was it first grade? I think it was first grade that I got um, bullied big time and bullied because of my race.
Hmm.
And so my mom ended up pulling me out of the school system because it was just not good and it
Hmm.
was too volatile.
Yeah.
So my mom homeschooled me up until I was in the last year of high school. And then she let me go into the public school in Yakima. And I went just long enough. The funny thing was, she was teaching in the junior college there in Yakima.
Okay.
She was an instructor as well. And so she had me going to college at night and high school during the day. So I was like killing two birds with one stone.
Yeah.
Then I relocated and went over once I graduated from high school and finished my first year in junior college. Then I moved over to Seattle by myself, and I was there for a few years. I worked in corporate America, and then my sister wanted me to come back to California to manage her singing career. She's a singer,
Okay.
professional singer. So I did. Came back to LA and I started managing my sister's career. And then I started working and one thing led to the next. And then I was in the entertainment business, started with Dick Clark, was with him for 5 years, was very instrumental in taking him public. And then I got recruited by Motown. I actually turned the job down 3 times. And then they introduced me to Suzanne DePass and they said, Suzanne is who we want you to work with. And she was this powerhouse who had discovered the Jackson Five, and she was a really talented producer. And so I went to work with Suzanne. And then 15 years, 15 years with Motown and DePass Entertainment. And then from there, I went from intellectual property to real property. And it
Okay.
was my actual realtor when I bought my first home, and I was still in the entertainment business. She said, you need to get in real estate. And I was like, yeah, I don't have to real estate. Nah, that's not me, right? Anyway, I got in real estate. And yeah, it was interesting because I wasn't really excited about it.
Hmm.
Um, I don't know, I just wasn't excited about it. But when the market started shifting and crashing in 2006, I got in the business in 2000. By 2006, the market started shifting. People were scrambling, agents were scrambling, everybody was scrambling, trying to get their bearings because the economy was crashing, the values were crashing, the
Hmm.
banks were crashing. And this was a time for me where I had to make a decision. Do I go back to the entertainment business? Do I go get another job?
Yeah.
What do I do? Oh no, I'm going to suit up. I'm going to show up. I'm going to master this market. And because people needed help,
Hmm.
and all of us agents, we needed help, we needed support. So sure enough, I mastered the market of the moment. And from there, I found my purpose. My purpose was to be of service and help people. And I always love empowering people. I love reading. I love passing on great material. And there's just something about being able to add value, you
Hmm.
know, to a human being's life.
Hmm.
And I don't know, ever since I was little, even when I was a little girl, I loved encyclopedias and I love looking, I love reading and information. I was like an information junkie.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I tapped into spirituality. That's how I ended up getting into spirituality because
Okay.
yeah, I started with metaphysics. My mom didn't raise me in the church, right? So that's a whole nother show. That
Oh, I
is,
know. I figured we might have to do a couple different episodes over the course of about a
yeah,
year because there's so many different parts to your life. So
yeah,
you were introduced to spirituality then through just different things that you read and you were interested in.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And I got formal instruction on meditation back in the early 90s, like
Okay.
literally like late 80s, early 90s. So that was it was very intriguing, and then I got introduced. My meditation instructor happened to be partners with Deepak Chopra, and a lot of work that they were doing together. So I got a chance to meet him, and then of
Wow.
course I fell in love with his 7 spiritual laws of success.
Hmm.
Went to his center out in La Jolla,
Hmm.
spent time out there, and it was just amazing. But I got through into the whole spirituality, metaphysical space as a result of my mother really rebelling against traditional Christianity, if you will.
Hmm.
um she just thought there was too much hypocrisy and too much
Hmm.
stuff, so she never made me go to church
Hmm.
or do the Bible study thing. She never did. Um, and it was okay, but I knew there was something greater than us. I knew there was something bigger than us that was running this thing.
Hmm.
But so anyway, I'm probably talking too much now,
No,
but
you're perfect. This is perfect. It goes right into because there's so many different places we could go today, but the reason I think I was immediately attracted to your energy and your presence because you have this energy that just comes off of you in your videos on Instagram
mm,
and
mm,
YouTube and everywhere else that you've been, where there is such peace and grounding I felt
mm,
immediately from you. And when you described flow, I was just like, why? I don't hear very many people, especially in the real estate industry, talk about flow, talk about
yeah.
energy, talk about all of this and how it intertwines with their business. And it was so
Mm,
refreshing. And then when you
mm-hmm.
came and spoke in the inner circle, I mean, we already know I was flipping out like right at the very beginning there because I've looked for that so much in business from other
Mm,
women, especially. And so
mm-hmm.
maybe if you can start off there a little bit actually and talk about the flow piece and when you feel like you found flow.
You know, um, it's very interesting because I thought, and the whole idea of being in flow really is something that has manifested with me within the last, I want to say, 3 years.
Hmm.
You know, um, before I wasn't as tuned into the idea of flow because it hadn't been introduced to me in this way, right? So I got introduced to a profiling system. It's called wealth dynamics and talent dynamics. And it's like, Tony Robbins has a disc profiling system.
Yeah.
There's many other companies that have their various versions of the disc, these personality profiles, right? And I've taken a ton of them, and most of them were right on the money. And but this particular system, which is developed by Roger Hamilton, who's got a company called Genius University, and it is a university. It's for entrepreneurs, right? And so he uses this wealth and talent dynamics profiling system to break down your profile, but it's a commingled with East and West philosophies.
Okay.
So in a nutshell, it's kind of like spirituality meets entrepreneur stuff, right? And when they explain to you the whole concept of being in flow and trust in flow, right? When you are in your genius, you will flow. Meaning, flow is defined as being liquid or fluid, right?
Yeah.
But it travels. It travels very, you know, gracefully, if you want to say it's graceful. It moves. You know, it's very unique because when you're in flow, everything just kind of comes together. Obstacles melt away. You enjoy what you're doing. It just feels good, right? And you just flow. So the whole objective is for each one of us to get very clear about our profile and our genius. Because when we get to know who our genius is and what our profile is, and most of us, it's the things that we love doing the best, the things that the things we love doing the most, right? It's the things that make us like happy.
Yeah.
It makes us smile. It makes us, we have passion. When there's that passion, when things are just coming together with ease and grace, that you're in flow, right? And what an amazing feeling to not only you be in flow, but you to be interacting with people who are also in their flow. And ideally, collectively as a unit, when you know each other's profiles, everybody can be in their genius, and then you have flow. And you really know when you're not in flow because you don't feel good. You have anxiety. There's stress. There's something in your gut that just tells you something's off here. Something's not quite right here. That's being out of flow. Okay. So being in flow. So when I really tapped into it is when I got introduced to the Genius University. And then I became a flow consultant. Then I got certified to become a flow consultant. Then I started teaching it. Then I started coaching to it. And I use it to build teams because there's nothing worse than putting the wrong butt in the right seat. or it's nothing worse than having somebody doing something that is out of alignment with their flow, with their genius, with their profile. So it's really saved me. And I got so much freedom when I really was able to look at my own profile and go, oh my God, I've been focusing on trying to correct all these things that's not my profile. So we have a tendency to focus on our weaknesses, or focus on the things where we feel we're not so great in, versus focusing on the things that we're like amazing in. And really putting the energy on that, and then surrounding ourselves with people and partners and talent that are strong in those areas where we do have shortcomings or we do have weaknesses, or we just don't like doing certain things. I mean, for years, I was operating as a broker of record at Keller Williams for 13 years. And I was good at what I did, and people loved me, and I loved working with the people. But after a certain period of time, I started to burn out. But I was burning out because I was out of flow, because I'm a great leader, but I'm not so great with managing people. And there's a distinct difference between leadership and management of people. And we force ourselves to do certain things that we don't even realize are not in our wheelhouse, or they're not in flow with us. But we're doing them because we think we're supposed to be doing it. Or somebody has told us this is what you do, this is what you're supposed to do, right? But no, you really need to get clarity about who you are, what are your frequencies, what are your seasons, what are your earth elements, what are your universal elements. So it's like, again, it's spirituality meets entrepreneurialism. The moment I got super clear about being in flow, and I was clear about what my flow is and what my genius is, everything just opened up for me. Everything opened up. And I just had a very in-depth feeling of freedom and a lightness. Very light. Yeah. And it sounds...
This makes me think about, I like to talk to people a lot about the kind of culture that I think oftentimes is in entrepreneurship and in real estate, where it's just grind, 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 go, 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 don't ever stop. And
Yeah.
and you've been in a lot of different industries where that is probably the culture. How have you balanced that or figured out a balance for yourself?
I'm still working on that.
Yeah.
I'm still working on it. I am a workaholic, big time. I mean,
Okay.
I love what I do. So I shouldn't even call it work, because
Yeah.
to me, it's not really work.
Yeah.
I just do what I do, but I love what I do. And the thing about being in love with what you do, um, you do have to protect your time. You do have to protect your energy. And so this is why I do a lot of meditation.
Okay.
I do a lot of meditation. Like every day, I should do at least twice a day, no less than 20 minutes. But I often, when like I have a meditation I'm working on right now that is very specific to some work that I'm doing. And it's an hour and a half, 2 hours. And it's like we have to do it between 4 a.m. and 7 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the ideal hours for doing really deep, deep inner work. And so yeah, do I get to stick to that timeline? No. So I just get it in when I get it in, I
Yeah.
mean? So I mean, because many times I'm working late and I'm up all night, or I might be burning the midnight oil. So I may not get to bed before 2 or 3, but then, I'm back up 6, 7. I don't get a whole lot of hours of sleep, but that's just the nature of our world, right?
Mm-hmm.
The nature of our business. And in real estate, this isn't a banker's job. This is, when somebody wants to put a deal together, you put it together,
Yeah.
you
And
do
make
it
it
when
happen.
you make it happen. Otherwise, and it's that kind of understanding and commitment that makes a difference in your success.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I've gotten a lot better over the years by, making sure that I take my little trips and that I take my downtime, or I do a sprint. I call them sprints. It's like a 3-day, 4-day weekend where you can it's not a full vacation, but it's a little sprinter, just
Yeah.
enough to give you some downtime, some breathing room.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So I guess I would say that balancing is a combination of meditation, breath work, yoga,
Mm-hmm.
um, and going on little sprints.
I like that. Would you
Yeah.
share your morning routine? You shared that in BU, and that was lovely just to hear and I know some of the ladies asked you, like, how do you have the self-discipline to do this? Or how do you get there? And the way you described that was awesome too.
I do a combination of things when I'm doing my personal development work. Combination of prayers, meditation, decrees, chanting, breath work, and I sort of mix it all up to make it a cocktail of my own, right?
Yeah.
And I shift, like I'm on a whole different regime right now, but it's always a combination of tuning in and then working with the violet flame. I love working with the violet flame. And the violet flame is where you're doing these decrees, and it's repetitive, but you get into a rhythm when you're reciting it, and it literally invokes, it invokes. And so you just go into a zone. It's so powerful when you learn to work with the unseen,
Mm-hmm.
when you learn to work with the invisible, because that's really where it's all happening,
Mm-hmm.
is the unseen. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
We have a tendency to think that we're running it. We're not running it.
Yeah.
We're just not. I mean, I just think about how we were Look at how we connected.
Yes, I know. It was all meant to be. It was not by some random chance at all.
That was
Yeah.
crazy. That was wild.
Hmm.
And then even now, and now I feel like I'm so connected to you, you know, and
Yes.
and now you're introducing me to someone else, and it's just, and it's like we are not running it.
Mm-mm.
And we,
No.
when we surrender to that and allow the universe to just do its thing,
Hmm.
this I call it divine orchestration.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's divine orchestration. And I don't, when people are brought into my life, I just have to trust.
Hmm.
It's for a reason. There's
Hmm.
something, and it may not even be the reason that we initially got introduced.
Yeah.
It may be something completely different. But then there's another thing.
Yeah. No, I
Hopefully
remember.
that I've hopefully answered your question
Oh, you did
about
totally. Yes. No, just the combination of things that you do in the morning and talking about that time frame from 4 a.m. to 7 a.m. I
Mhm.
talked to so many people about the idea of meditation and just kind of gently introduce it. And the first thing people usually say is, "Well, I don't have time for that. The moment I wake up, my kids are there, this and there."
Yeah,
And I said, "Hey, I get it. I don't have kids, and I still have things to do. And so I have to.
yeah,
There's always an
yeah,
obstacle. There's always something standing in the way, and you have to be really disciplined about it. And then I think you also have to try it long enough to feel
yeah,
the difference because
sure.
it only took me like maybe 20 days. I did the Miracle Morning book with Hal Elrod,
Yes,
and that
yes, I
was what
love that.
first introduced me to meditation. It was like
Really?
my body got addicted to that
Yes,
feeling. And I
yeah,
was like, how could I not do this anymore? It doesn't
I
make
know.
sense. Yeah.
That's so interesting. You mentioned Hal Elrod because I love his book. I love it. Matter of fact, I've been doing him for, I don't even, when he first came out with that book, that's how long I've been
Okay.
working that practice. So I do that miracle morning thing. That's my thing too.
Yeah.
It's just, we make up, there's all kinds of different ways you can do it. You can do the short version, you can do the long version, you can do
Hmm.
all these things. But I'll tell you something, it's interesting when people say, I don't have time to do that. Like, I don't, I got my kids, I got this, I got that. And it's just too much going on. I don't have time. So whenever I hear that, I think, so we were given 24 hours a day. We were given 24 hours a day
Hmm.
by the grace of the universe, by the grace of God, by whoever you're working with, right? And we don't have 1 hour to give back. What? What is that? That is crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy. You don't have 1 hour to
Yeah.
give back, meaning give back, meaning for yourself
Hmm.
and just to acknowledge gratitude
Hmm.
for having what we do have.
Hmm.
It, if you say you don't have time, you have time. You are granted 24 hours a day.
Yeah. It reminds me
That,
of I led a workshop with a couple of transaction coordinator teams a few weeks ago. And it was really beautiful to see what happened over the span of these 3 hours. I always start out all of my workshops with a meditation, which usually kind of
nice.
freaks people out because they're
Yes.
like,
Yes, they're not used to it. They're like, what are we doing?
what are we doing now? And I love that because it kind of puts people on their toes and it wakes them up and they're just all of a sudden they're like, okay, what is this lady doing? And so we
Mm,
started out with that. And I usually actually give them a little bit of homework. So they have to meditate every day for at least 2 minutes a day leading up to the workshop for a week.
yes,
And
nice.
most of the time they don't do it. And
Of
so
course.
over the course of that 3 hours, there was a lady who I'll never forget who spoke up and she said, you know what, Margaret? And she'd been really kind of anti-meditation since the beginning. She said, I'm
Yeah.
realizing it's not that I don't want to meditate, it's that I don't want to prioritize it. I don't want to prioritize
Mm,
myself. And I was like,
mm, wow.
it was so powerful that,
Mm,
but what you just spoke about, we have these 24 hours and realizing that we can make the choice on how we
yeah.
spend it and kind of
Yeah.
taking responsibility for ourselves and for how we're spending our time and what our intentions are, I
Yeah.
think can be hard for people to take that first step, but it changes everything.
Changes it all.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I will say that, how you acknowledge that when you first saw me through social media, there
Mhm.
was something about me. Okay.
Oh yeah, coming off the screen. It was like, come talk to me.
But I'll tell you what that is. That's that me doing this meditation and these prayers and these
Yes.
affirmations and all the stuff, the mantras and the breath work and all of that stuff. It
Hmm.
has everything to do with that.
Hmm.
And it literally, it reinforces your prana, which is your life force,
Hmm.
and it reinforces the energy, your whole aura, because there's an auric layer that's around us.
Hmm.
And when we are tuned up, that aura glows. And you feel that and you can see that with people,
Yes,
you
totally.
know? So it's very, very powerful. But I really wish and hope that people could take a moment and step back and realize what a gift they have in their life. Their life is a
Hmm.
gift. Our lives are gifts.
Hmm.
We're walking miracles. And we have so much that we take for granted,
Hmm.
so much that we take for granted, so much that we're not grateful for. So to be able to just step aside, even if it's for 30 minutes,
Yeah.
to just say, thank you so much. Thank you. I love this mantra, which is it's actually an Egyptian sign.
Okay.
And this is the hugging yourself. We got to hug ourselves.
Yeah. You had me do that our first meeting too.
Yeah, we hug ourselves
Ah,
and we look in the mirror, go in the bathroom, hug yourself, look in the mirror and say, I love you. And genuinely deep meaning, smile at yourself, laugh, whatever, but
yeah.
connect with yourself, right? Your
Yeah.
soul knows this. Your soul will reward you for being grateful,
Mhm.
and for also acknowledging yourself. We don't acknowledge ourselves.
That's a big piece, the acknowledgement. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, we have to acknowledge ourselves and love ourselves, literally.
Hmm.
So all of this jargon about I don't have time and I got to deal with the kid, that's just like that's air.
Yeah.
That's just air. That's like whatever. But get a grip. Get a grip.
Hmm.
You can't even be of service to your kids if you're all over the place
Yes.
or if you're not grounded. How are you going to be a good partner to your husband if
Hmm.
you're all flipped out, right? And out of flow.
Hmm.
If you don't have time for your meditation or your personal development work, and I know this could be one of those things where they're like, oh, that's her opinion. But no, if you don't have time for yourself, I don't know. Um, I don't know. That's not a good thing.
Hmm.
You got to take care of yourself.
Yeah.
Personal development, however you want to crank it up, whether it's meditation or mantras or chanting or praying or decreeing, whatever it is, it's a form of taking is self-care.
Hmm. Hmm.
Self-care. And if you don't care for yourself, how are you going to care for anybody else?
Hmm.
Yeah, we got to
Yeah.
care for ourselves.
Yeah.
I mean, we take better care of our pets than we do ourselves.
It's so true.
we
Yes.
we put those pets and like, hey, gotta get them. Let's go to the vet. We're going to take care of what's going on.
Yeah. Self-care
So
is such a big topic and such also, I know like that phrase has been used so much, but I still find it to be, I oftentimes will say like taking care of you. Are
yeah.
you taking care of you? And that's been a big topic for my boyfriend and I have been together for about 2 years. And
Hmm.
he's African American. And so we've talked a lot about how taking care of himself was never really taught to him in the same way or
Yeah.
fashion.
Yeah.
And for men in general as well, not typically encouraged. And it's been changing his life. And it's
Yes.
really amazing to watch and see
Yeah.
him
Wow.
acknowledge himself in that way.
That's powerful.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
just got the goosebumps. That's powerful. Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Yeah,
huge.
the self-care thing, man, we really, really, really take it for granted.
Hmm.
We take it for granted big time. And it's the same thing as getting enough sleep, you know.
Yeah.
I'm really bad with this sleep thing. I have, and my body, I mean, I have a high tolerance for everything.
Hmm.
And but I, for many, many years, and even still, I struggle with making sure I'm getting enough rest, because rest is required for you to heal, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. What you just said about you have a high pain tolerance, we talk about that a lot in the inner circle as well. Like it's time to lower how high we have our pain tolerance because we just end up tolerating things that we don't need to tolerate. Yeah.
That end up damaging us in the long run.
Hmm.
Mhm. I know you had, at one point, you had asked me about what was one of my challenges.
Oh, yeah.
What what are some of the biggest challenges or obstacles I've faced in my life? I would say it's my health.
Okay.
And that's because I was not taking care of myself. And one thing leads to the next thing. And, when you're young, when you're in your 20s and your 30s, or, even back as far as teens, we just roll, 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 right? But as we start aging, our body starts changing.
Hmm.
And uh, it's kind of wild because we have a tendency to really abuse our bodies.
Yes. Yeah.
We abuse our bodies, whether it be from years ago, partying or whatever, we abuse our bodies. And then when we don't take care of ourselves, because we think everything's good because we're rolling, and it's like, hey, it's all good, right? But
Yeah.
really, we're not. There's a certain level of care that we're not giving ourselves. And when you get older, it catches up with you. I'm promising. I'm telling you, I'm dealing with it.
Yeah.
It's like the wreckage of my past is caught up with me today.
Hmm.
So I've had 4 spinal surgeries. It
Wow.
wasn't until I was close to 50 years old that I got diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. And I never even had to go to the doctor for anything all those years. I was always good, healthy, and active, and I was meditating, from the 90s. But I'm telling you, you have got to be mindful of how you're caring for your body. Your
Hmm.
body is your temple.
Hmm.
It's your temple. And if you don't take care of it, then it's going to fail you. Okay. So that is probably one of the biggest struggles and biggest challenge and obstacles has been my health. And some people would never even know because I don't wear it, if you would.
Hmm. Hmm.
But, I've had 4 spinal surgeries, and that's between the year 2011 and 2021.
Wow.
Within a 10-year period,
Jeez.
4 spinal surgeries. And the first 3 bounce back, boom, rolling, back, traveling, climbing mountains, doing this, doing that, and working like crazy, like around the clock constantly, because I have this holic thing going on. So it's just crazy. And I would say God does for me what I won't do for myself. What I won't do for myself is stop and rest and take care of my body. So
Hmm.
he gave me something that I needed to stop for, spinal surgery. Okay, I'm going to stop you. You're not going to be able to run now. But wouldn't you know, I was sitting up there in that hospital with my laptop. I had my whole hospital room as my office.
Yeah.
My team would come up, bring things. Da, 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 da. I was in full blown motion, working
Wow.
in the hospital. every time, as recent as this last time. And I don't know. So the last surgery gave me a run for my money, because now I've had 3 surgeries that preceded that. I have scar tissue to deal with. I have my age to deal with, and you have your weight. Don't forget, when you've got to manage your weight through all this stuff. So, that has been like the thing that has just popped up. That's like, Toni, shame on you, girl, for not taking care of your body, taking care of your temple all these years, right? And I'm grateful for everything that I have, and I'm mindful of the challenges, and I don't regret them, because it teaches me. It's teaching me, and I'm also able to be an example for others. Ideally, somebody can learn from my experience or my own challenges.
Do you find that, I love that you have the fabulous routine that you have, even if it's not the same every day and you morph and you move with it, you have it, because I think that I find this for myself too. My brain's constantly going. And so when I slow down, while it does feel really good, there's also all sorts of emotions that will come up.
Yeah.
Because they haven't had a chance to come up. And so I find that when most people slow down, that's what they're afraid of, are those feelings coming up and feeling the feelings and figuring out what it means. And do you find that happens for you when you slow down?
Yeah. I have a hard time slowing down. Like, my mom used to say to me, can you just sit down for 5 minutes? Like, she was serious as a heart attack, because I'd be like all over the house, and I'm always doing something. I mean, I'm always doing something. I'm either in the kitchen, or I'm over here at my desk, or I'm the computer, or something. I'm always doing something. And my mom would say, except for when I'm meditating, that would be the time, when I'm doing my personal development work, that's when I shut it down. But once I'm finished with that, then I'm like, rolling.
Yeah.
Right. But yeah, when you do stop, there are things that will present themselves, but that's why the breath work is so good, because you can quickly do breath work.
Yeah.
And just boom. And now I do it before any meeting. Every meeting that I have, and I coach people, as well as I have meetings with clients, and I say to them, excuse me, do you mind if we just tune in for a little bit? And they love it.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, nobody's ever asked us to do this. What do we do? Like, I don't know if I know how to breathe. This one lady, we did this breath. We did a 3-day breath challenge, right? And it was online. This was during the pandemic. And this lady, I never forget, she cried like a baby. She said, I can't believe that I didn't know how to breathe. I've never learned. I didn't know how to breathe. She says, I don't believe how I feel doing that. Right.
Wow.
And it was powerful. Yeah. She says, I'll be honest with you, you guys, I didn't know how to breathe. I've never learned how to breathe. And it's true. A lot of people don't.
No. I think that's part like what has given me the strength to start out workshops and speaking engagements with the meditation, because I've had too many people come up to me afterwards and say, I'm going to start meditating now because you talked about it, because you mentioned it, because you had us try it. So I love that you start out your meetings that way, because I've never tried it with breath work. And it's probably even more powerful than meditation, just to start out by teaching people how to breathe in deeply. Yeah.
Yeah. I used to start out with a little, kind of a mini meditation, but then I've realized that the breath work is not only easy to access, but it's very effective in a short period. You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's just really effective. You can just like I mean, if I am having one of those days where things are just like, I will just stop and go,
Yeah.
you know, how some people say, just breathe. But I mean, literally, you need to just breathe.
Yes. Literally take a deep breath.
Like,
Yes.
take a deep breath. Because,
Yeah.
you know, most of the time people talk about it and they say, oh, take a deep breath. Oh, don't forget to breathe. Yeah, right. But it's real. It's
Yeah.
like,
You can
yeah.
feel the oxygen flooding your body and you feel that. Yeah, it
Mhm.
really helps.
And the same thing happens when you're doing this. This is a whole nother class that I could teach on. This
Okay.
is what we call the middle pillar mudra.
Okay.
Middle pillar mudra. And this is where the prana, we get our own prana worked up. This is how you can do distance healing,
Okay.
is working with the middle pillar mudra.
Okay.
And I love working with that because you can work on lots of things,
Yeah.
you know, things that you want to get rid of, you can work on it. Things that you want to attract, things that you want to heal,
Hmm.
things that you want to manifest, you know.
I love that you had us do that while we were breathing. I've never done that at the same, I've done that otherwise, but not while
Mhm.
breathing and doing a meditation. That was really, and then to put what you want to visualize and manifest in between your hands.
Mhm.
That was a really cool feeling. Yeah. I'm going to use that
Mhm.
between now. I'm going to use that this week as I'm manifesting what I want to
Good.
manifest.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, I love it. Oh, did it
Um,
feel, how did it feel?
Well, in the past I've really been working on I'm a very visual person.
Mhm.
An absolutely an artist, used to be a photographer, and so I see things out in front of me, but for me to visualize in my head has been a process I've had to really practice. But this
Yeah.
time I could see it as little
Mm,
words in between my hands,
mm.
and then I love playing with it back and forth. I've done that a little bit because I've learned I was taught how to do Reiki and energy healing. And
Yes.
so it's amazing what you can feel. And just doing that with
Mhm.
people, I could imagine them starting to understand what it means to talk about your auric field and the fact that
Yes.
people can feel your energy and your presence through
Yeah.
the camera right in front of you. Like it's
Yeah.
so powerful.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah. Thanks for sharing that.
Oh yeah. Well, I know. So I definitely want to have you back to talk more about all sorts of different things. But I know that we're at about time right now. If you
Okay.
had to leave us with a tip or two for people that are brand new to everything that we've talked about today, what would you share with them to get started?
Well, you know, I always feel like it's important, first of all, to know who your genius is. Know your genius.
Yeah.
And that, you know, understanding your profile, understanding what your frequencies are. Um, and I have a partner, and also she's my coach, who's also, I had her go and become a flow consultant because
Mhm.
this is just a space where we all, we it just will make a huge difference when you are
Mhm.
able to tap into who you are. You know, we think we know who we are, right? But at the end of the day, there's just certain things you don't know what you don't know, right?
Mhm.
So, but it's important to tap into you first. And then I would say the next thing is to get yourself into some protected time where you can just be with you and work on you. Start to honor yourself. You
Mhm.
know, we need to honor ourselves and
Yeah.
honor our being, because if you don't honor yourself, who's going to honor you, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, so you gotta work on yourself. It's not going to happen if you're not working on yourself.
Mhm.
You're going to be out of flow. That's what you're going to be. You're going to
Yeah.
be out of flow when you do not focus on you. And I don't mean focus on you in a selfish way.
Mhm.
No, I'm saying it's imperative
Yeah.
that you focus on you. Do your and you start out with gratitude. Just be
Mhm.
grateful. You
Mhm.
know, there's so much craziness around us. There's so much things happening in the world that are out of our control. There's so many
Yeah.
weird stuff. Just the times are very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And the only way we're going to be able to get through these times is to maintain our spiritual hygiene.
Mm-hmm.
Our spiritual hygiene, or your personal development, call it what you want.
Yeah.
But that's really, these are some bumpy times,
Yeah.
and they're going to get a little more bumpy before they clear out.
Mm-hmm.
It's in having a relationship with your maker. Let's just call it your maker.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we don't have to get into who that is, what that is. Just develop a relationship with your maker.
Mm-hmm.
And honor that, honor them, honor yourself, and make time for yourself, for crying out loud. Don't say you don't have time. Come on. How do you say you don't have time? You got 24 hours a day that was granted to you. You didn't even create the 24 hours. It's like, you didn't create the time. What do you mean you don't have time? You weren't the one creating the time. So
yeah. Otherwise, your body's going to start talking to you like you described with, your body's going to.
Yeah, your body's going to rebel.
Yeah.
And say, excuse me. Okay, so you're not going to take any heed to this. So I got you. I'm going to take care of you. Yeah. And the next thing you know, we're dealing with disease, or we're dealing with illness, or we're dealing with some sort of something, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
No, I can't emphasize that anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then for anybody who's watching too, who I want to make sure to mention, are you out of Los Angeles, and how far out do you help people if they watch this and they're like, I want to work with Toni, I want her to sell my house or help me buy?
Yeah, well, I have partners all over the world. So I'm very fortunate to be with a brokerage. I'm a broker, but I'm partnered and inside of an environment and a platform where we are global. We're in 22 countries now, and we're all very close, and it's very cool. So you can find me at everythingtonipatillo.com. That's a link tree type of a site. Everythingtonipatillo.com. And there's my real estate website, there's my YouTube, all my social media. And then there's a way to reach out to me through social media. You can always DM me. And, I love working with people. So, if somebody wants to work with me and we can explore what that looks like, I'd be happy to talk to you.
Okay.
For sure. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for making the time. I know how busy you are and how many different commitments you have. So it means a lot that you come on here and share with the folks that listen to I Love It When.
Well, I love it when I get to connect with you. That's what I love.
You caught my last question. That was my last one. Well, it brings me a lot of joy to be able to connect with you.
I'm telling you, it's the most empowering time I've had with you guys. I've had so much fun, and I've been doing the debriefs with the girls.
Oh, yes.
And I have loved that so much. It's just an honor and it's a pleasure. And so I love it when I get to connect with all these like-minded, powerful women. Mm-hmm. So that's my I Love It When.
Oh, thank you. Well, for everybody that's listening, I'll put all of Toni's contact information and websites that she mentioned in the text of this podcast, and you'll be able to watch this on all major podcast platforms and YouTube. Nice.